Good afternoon, Packers fans. Aaron Nagler here with your Packers Daily Chat, coming to you live on the Cheesehead TV social channels. It is Friday. We made it, people. We made it through Wild Card Week. Getting ready for Wild Card Weekend. The Green Bay Packers traveling to Philadelphia to take on those Philadelphia Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field. Not to put the cart before the horse, but man, I'm ready for some revenge. Someone in the chat here talking about 4th and 26. I know we went there in 2010 and did the thing, but man, 4th and 26, you got to bring that up? Really? I was feeling so good about my Friday. I kid somewhat, but yes, big playoff showdown for your Green Bay Packers on Sunday. And for the most part, obviously there's a couple guys banged up, but according to the injury report, most of those people are questionable. The only two that are out, Christian Watson, obviously, and Zane Anderson. Heading into a playoff weekend, that's about as good as you can get it. Clearly, the Packers down Watson, down Jair Alexander. You don't wish that, but for all the other kind of ins and outs of the injury report that could be going on, i.e. Jordan Love, it's good to have the starting quarterback ready to go. Another full participant on Friday. Looking at the matchup, I don't want to belabor too much what they have to do on offense because I think it's pretty obvious. They have to play a clean game. It's something they haven't done a whole lot of over the course of the last month or so, and particularly against the better teams that they have faced. Lots been made about losing to the Vikings, the Lions, etc. And a big component of that is not playing clean, whether that is fumbling the ball, putting it on the carpet, robbing yourself of opportunities to score, or putting yourself behind the sticks because of mental errors, whether it is pre-snap penalties, even holding calls, things that make it exponentially more difficult for you on offense. You go back and you watch this matchup in week 1. The Packers moved the ball very well, but really shot themselves in the foot several times in the red zone, especially when it came to penalties, bringing them back. Now, one of those, the offensive pass interference, that was questionable, but there were certainly legit holding calls, false starts, things of that nature that made things exponentially more difficult for them. If the Packers can play just the semblance of a clean game on offense, and I'm not even talking about, they got to feed Josh Jacobs or they got to get Jordan Love going early. All those things, sure, I'll listen to arguments for each and every one of them. But to me, none of that matters if the Packers aren't clean. And like I said, it's been a while since they played a clean game. Their best players in particular, whether it is Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, Jaden Reed, they're the guys who have to step to the fore, play their best to beat the best. Hopefully that's what happens on Sunday when the Packers are on offense. When you flip it around to the defensive side of the ball, it is interesting looking at that game and down in Brazil and remembering how, what a great job the Packers did kind of containing Jalen Hurts. Well, a lot had been made about the last time those two teams had faced each other, and Hurts ran all over them. They did a phenomenal job of keeping him in the pocket. Of course, the problem is that he really killed them with his arm. And he even did get outside a few times with his legs. But it was interesting to note that I think it's a 67-yarder that they gave up to A.J. Brown to start the second half, the big touchdown with Jair in coverage. That is literally the only 40-plus yard play that the Packers have given up all year long. Every single other NFL team has allowed at least 6 40-plus yard gains this season. So the Packers have done a very good job of limiting big plays, something that the Eagles somewhat thrive on. For all the talk about Saquon Barkley, for good reason, obviously he's amazing, but the Eagles do kind of run in fits and starts, and they certainly feed off the big play. And the Packers' ability to clamp down on that a little bit should go a long way in deciding this one. Another kind of interesting note here is cover 2, something that Jeff Hafley has really leaned into this season. His squad ranks 3rd in the league for most cover 2 usage. That 2 high safety look with 2 corners underneath. They have run it a ton. Like I said, the 3rd most, a little over 20%. But when they played the Eagles in week 1, they had their lowest rate of the year. Now, obviously, that a big component of that is trying to get extra bodies in the box to stop Barkley. And that is something I think we'll continue to see here intermittently. But I also think Halfley can probably lean back into some of that cover two usage a little bit more this time around if he has both Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper out on the field. Now, we know Quay is questionable heading into this game. I do think getting those two on the field together, especially given the work we've seen Edgerrin Cooper do against the run, certainly coming off that month of December where he was named the defensive rookie of the month, all those tackle for losses, all those plays where he's kind of erased potential big plays for opponents. You saw that a couple times against Minnesota. The way he is able to kind of really mitigate some of the disaster plays, something that, he really wasn't on the field to do that first time around in Brazil. He played 11 snaps in that matchup. So I just think that's something where the Packers defense can hopefully have an answer for a Philadelphia offense that loves the running game, whether it is Saquon Barkley or whether it is the quarterback who also runs the ball with abandon. But I don't doubt for a moment that a big part of this is going to be their ability to stay in not just cover two, but a lot of these different zone looks, especially without Jair. And I remember coming into the season, a lot was made, and a lot of you guys asked about the potential for the Packers to really get after Jalen Hurts because he had really struggled toward the end of 2023 against the blitz. We had that playoff game against the Buccaneers in particular was hard to watch at times because of that. Now you fast forward to this season, he's done a much better job, and the Packers really didn't test him too much. The one big heavy blitz they sent in the first half saw Keyshawn Nixon come free and hit the quarterback just as he's throwing the ball, which he completes to A.J. Brown in the left flat. Jair misses the tackle and the first down is picked up. I do think we'll see a bit more of that. I don't think they're going to go crazy. Halfley is 29th in blitz rate at this point, and I don't think his stripes are going to change. I don't suspect he's suddenly going to send a ton of pressure, but I do think you'll see a bit more than what we saw in week one. I do think they're going to have some of those simulated pressure styles, but more actual numbers at given times, third down, obvious passing situations, just to keep the Eagles guessing a little bit. I don't think it's going to be a wholesale change. I don't think he's going to be out of pocket, changing his entire profile, but I do think we'll see him picking his spots a little bit more on Sunday in Philadelphia. What's going on, everybody? Good to see everybody in the comment section already mixing it up. Let's give a shout out to our good friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Go to prizepicks.com, use code CHTV, spend $5 in lineups, and get $50 instantly. Prize Picks is available in 43 different states, including Wisconsin, most importantly. Here are my picks for tonight's big matchup in the college football playoffs. How about last night's game? My God, that was a ton of fun to watch. I would have done much better if Allard could, throw into the flat what should have been a really easy touchdown. But other than that, it was a ton of fun. Make sure you use the link in the description of this video. Use code CHTV. Send me your lineups, folks. Do it. Big stuff, Prize Picks, college football playoffs, and hell, the NFL. Come on now. We got games for the next 4 days, whether it is college or the pros. It's going to be a lot of fun. What's going on, folks? Got a ton of people already chiming in here on the comment section. Hold on. Excuse me. Goodness. What do we got here, folks? Professor Cakes starting us off with a interesting chat. I don't get the fans who say this season is a failure if we lose Sunday. Sounds pretty entitled. Favre and Rodgers both won Super Bowls in year 3, but if Love doesn't do it in year 2, then the team failed? And he's got the eye roll emoji here. I mean, I do and I don't get it, man. I hear what you're saying, and yes, look, you guys are tired of hearing it, but I'm going to say it again. Progression, development, pick a word, it's never linear, right? And just because even if they don't win next year in Jordan Love's third year as a starter. It doesn't mean he's a failure. It doesn't mean the season's a failure. And it certainly doesn't mean that this season is a failure if they lose on Sunday. In fact, I think they're ahead of the sticks, so to speak, as a program, having a better squad this year. Yes, they certainly have come in limping into the playoffs here at the end of the year with these two losses, but I don't doubt for a moment that if you put these rosters side by side as a blind test, so to speak, without knowing the results of their seasons, you would say this was a better squad. Um, and look, they absolutely clinched the playoffs earlier than they did last year. They didn't have to fight and claw and pray for outcomes other than their own to even make it into the dance, you know? But yes, I understand if you're looking at it, even at like, especially as a casual fan who maybe just watches on Sundays and then doesn't partake in any of this content stuff during the week. And then you watch the game the next Sunday and you think, what the hell? And you're thinking, well, they went to the divisional round last year. This year, they, in this scenario, lost in the wild card round. They've obviously taken a step back. Again, I understand why someone would think that, especially if they're not really drilled down into the team. And I think most people, most fans are probably like that. You folks, you're all very smart and good looking because you're here every day for Cheesehead TV. You're very different. You're obsessed with the team on a different level. But I don't think most fans are like that. The folks who pack Lambeau Field every week to the tune of 80,000 folk, most of them are not going to be able to tell you who the backup center is or who comes off the bench at safety if someone gets hurt. You guys can. But most of the people at Lambeau Field on a Sunday, they just want to drink beer and cheer for their touchdowns, And that's nothing wrong with that. Hell, my grandpa was that kind of fan. I totally get that perspective. So again, I do understand how someone could say it. Like if they lose on Sunday, oh, they took a step back or it's a failure or whatever. I don't agree with that perspective, but I understand it. What else we got here, folks? Joe, what's going on, man? Do you see a Devontae or MVS reunion happening? No, Joe, I do not. I know the Devontae thing in particular has kind of really gained steam this today because of the interview he did with Kay Adams, but I don't think that's very realistic. Could it potentially happen? I mean, I'd never say never. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I'd be very surprised if the Packers went that avenue. Klaus, what's going on, man? We can do it. Go Pack, go. Hey, look at you. That's the kind of attitude I like to hear. Come on now. Jeezy baby, what's going on, man? Do you think regularly having the youngest team contributes to us never having clean games? Seems like last year was the same. I'll take it though. Go Pack, go. I don't think it was as bad last year. I really don't. Whether it was like holding on to the ball or pre-snap penalties in particular, I don't remember it being as endemic. But I do think there's something to it. I do think there's something to youth and inexperience playing into some of those mistakes. Now, what you can turn around and say, though, is, well, okay, most of these guys now have been in this program for at least 2 years coming into this playoff matchup, right? Like, they've played not a ton of ball, but they've played a bunch of ball, and they've played together. So that's what's so frustrating, is that at this point, you would hope they'd have smoothed some of those edges out. But that doesn't seem to be a regular occurrence. Last Son of Krypton, what's going on, man? Thanks for being a Carry the G Club member. Pick your poison. Stop the passing attack or sell out to slow/stop Saquon. Hurts, my money is on slow down Saquon and don't let Hurts win with his feet. Yeah, I think they'll have a similar approach to what they did last time around. I do think, like I said at the start, they'll be a tad more aggressive when it comes to rushing the passer, and they may leave guys on islands at times, though not with any regularity. But yeah, I somewhat agree, going away from some of the shell coverage and dropping a body or two back it down into the box to try and limit what they're able to do on the ground. And even when they do, see Hurts dropping back to pass and they are rushing 4, I don't think you're going to see some kind of big change as far as trying to get the edge and, trying to get upfield with reckless abandon. I think they're going to be somewhat cautious and try to keep him contained inside the pocket and be really disciplined in their rush lanes. Because, man, you don't have to look much further than 2 games ago when he absolutely ran all over them. I mean, they had no answer for it. So the fact that they did such a good job the first time around, yes, you hope you can continue that. But you also need to limit what he's able to do as a passer. And to do that, you got to get to the quarterback. Colin, thanks for the super chat, man. I like that the Eagles are expected to win by most. The Packers play better as underdogs for sure. I expect that Love stops playing scared too. It's interesting you phrase it that way. I mean, scared, cautious, smart. These are all words you could probably apply if you wanted to, right? And it is a pretty stark juxtaposition with, oh, he's reckless, a gunslinger, all putting the ball in jeopardy, dumb decisions, etc. That all stuff we heard the first half of the season, right? I agree that there's, a balance he has to strike, no doubt about it, but I have no problem with him being a tad more cautious than we've seen him be over the course of his 2 seasons as a starter, in the hopes of, okay, I'm going to be smart and take that check down. Now, he's got to start hitting the check down. That's where the problems have come. It's like I have zero issue with his not pushing the ball down the field, putting the ball in jeopardy. But if he's going to take a check down or if he's going to take a throw in the flat, complete the throw. Throwing at guys' feet, throwing ahead of where the guy is breaking as a receiver, that's got to stop. He's got to be better in that area. Mark Ingram, thanks for the super chat, man. Do you think Matt and Halfley come out with some new plays to mix things up? Thanks, Nags, for an amazing season of great content. Oh, thanks, Mark. I appreciate that. New plays. I don't think you're going to see tons of new stuff on defense. I think you'll see a mixing of all the stuff that they've run all year. Maybe there's a bit more of an emphasis on sending pressure, but I don't think you're going to see a ton of new stuff. As far as on offense, I think you'll see a smattering of things that maybe they haven't shown before. I do think there's always one or two kind of new looks or wrinkles that Matt tries to fit in during the playoffs. And I think Sunday will be the same. But I don't think it's going to be wholesale changes or anything like that. But yeah, I would suspect on offense in particular, you'll see one or two new things. Broderick, thoughts? Broderick, let me tell you, I have so many thoughts. But right now they are limited to the Green Bay Packers. But outside of that, oh, baby, let me tell you, still so many thoughts, including, I have many, many, many thoughts. But right now, my thought is I need a taste of something cold and refreshing.
Well, we carry the G wherever we may be, so creamy and cold, and from the land of the green and gold.
Carry the G beer, the official beer of Cheesehead TV. So good. Where were we, folks? Let me get to your comments again. Klaus, what's going on? I think that if we keep Barkley under 100 yards, we'll win. That's a lofty goal. And I think the Packers have a chance of doing that. I don't think it's as simple as do that and they win, but I think it would help. Definitely help the cause. No doubt about it. Michael, what's going on? Friday off-topic comment. Songs from the Big Chair is a great album. Go Pack Go. Michael, you have never told a lie. I still recall going to the record store to buy it on vinyl. All-time classic. My buddy Ben, who I do my Motel Men stuff with, he and I would listen to Working Hour on repeat, essentially, on his stereo. That was such a great track. But obviously, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, Shout, Head Over Heels, so many phenomenal songs on that album. Could not agree more. Joe, what's up, man? Notre Dame showed last night why you should defer if winning the coin toss. 10 points in a 5-minute stretch. Think Matt LaFleur is watching? Sure, probably. But Joe, Matt LaFleur was deferring before we were itching our daddy's pants. Okay, maybe not that long. But, Matt LaFleur's done plenty of deferring. And people killed him for it. And now he's taking the ball. I don't have a problem with either one. I really don't. Just be better in those opening drives. Jocelyn, what's going on? Fangio is quarters godfather, but we expect more man. Great wide receivers need to be aggressive in routes and aggressive at the catch point. Run through a motherfucker's face. Jocelyn, I'm glad you brought that up. I've seen a lot of this kind of conjecture this week about how, the Packers should expect more man. And I do think there'll be a smattering of it. I do think they'll have, occasional, probably most likely third down calls that feature some man stuff, but I don't think Fangio is just going to change his stripes suddenly. Like, I think you're still going to see a predominant zone look behind whatever rush they send after Jordan Love. I don't think they're going to suddenly become man merchants. Now, hey, man, maybe we get to that game and they run it 45% of the time and it's totally different and it totally catches the Packers off guard. But I just don't like, I get the thinking behind it, right? The Packers have struggled down the stretch here, beating man coverage. So, yes, run man, right? That is an obvious leap to make. But, man, they've been a really, really good defense the second half of this season. And they have run a lot of Fangio stuff. They haven't run a ton of man. So, yeah, I think we'll see some, but I don't think it's going to be some drastic change in that regard. Celestial Prophet, how you doing? I recently watched that Rams game where Favre threw 6 interceptions. What was that like to watch live? I'm 26, too young to experience. Oh, my God. What a pull. I was at Houdini's in Appleton. True story. Which is no longer there. Now it's called Ambassador. But back in the day, it was a bar called Houdini's. And I was with my friend Ben, friends Ben and Chad, and our friend Chris was the bartender. And we were pumped up. You know, we're very excited. Big Packers playoff game. And by the time Favre threw that third interception, you kind of knew it was over. And we started doing shots. So, like, by the time he threw the sixth interception, I don't remember a whole lot of watching it live. Now, I've gone back and watched it because I'm a glutton for punishment. But, yeah, it got late real early that day. I just remember very specifically asking Chris to pour me a shot after that third interception because I knew it was pretty much over. Me, Mr. Lot of Ball Game left. And yes, even back then, I was Mr. Lot of Ball Game left. But at that point, I was pretty sure there wasn't a lot of ball game left. And what was so frustrating is watching him him being Favre, just dropping back and just every time he cocked his arm, right, you were just heart in your mouth like, here we go again. Like you were never sure that day in particular, but kind of over the back half of his career. Is this going to our guy? Is it going to their guy? Could go anywhere. Yeah, that was a tough one, man. That was a tough day. Although I do recall in the second half, like it did get kind of ridiculous, and therefore we just kind of had fun with it because you knew like it was over. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna cry about it? Like just have fun with it. And I do think there was like a Bronx cheer, like quote quasi celebration when they finally kind of moved the ball a number of third downs without him throwing an interception. But yeah, that was a rough day. That was a rough day. Thanks for bringing it up, Celestial. Bryson, what's going on? I don't get the doom and gloom. Philly is good, but they are not the 07 Pats or 00 Ravens. They are just pretty good. And fuck Freddie Mitchell. Oh, that last bit took me out. That was great. Yeah, they are pretty good, but they're just 2 seed. So it's not like they're terrible. Like I understand the seeding thing and the Vikings are on the road, but they're pretty good, blah blah blah. But you know, it's not like the Eagles are slouches. Like they're a really good team and they've been playing very well this back half of the year. Now, you know, Jalen Hurts hasn't played in a number of weeks and who knows what that portends as far as rust or whatever. But I'm not going to sit here and say like, "Oh, they're not that good." They're pretty fucking good, man. But also, fuck Freddie Mitchell. That's so good. Oh, Golden Finn, what's going on? Did Hafley ever address the third down defense on the final Bears play? Also, what do you think of Bullard back in his normal spot if Williams plays? I'll take the second part first. Yes, please, Jesus, put Bullard down in the slot, especially for this game. I love him in the slot in this game. I love the idea of him being close to the ball, close to the line of scrimmage, physically getting up there against the run. Hell, send him on a blitz or two. But yes, please, Jesus, yes. And even if, I'm telling you, even if Evan Williams can't go, and Evan Williams is currently questionable, so maybe he's back. But even if he isn't, keep Ketan Oladapo back there next to Xavier McKinney. Keep Bullard in the slot. That is my request, if that's how it plays out. As far as Hafley addressing the third down, yes, he did. He didn't want to get too much into it, but he did talk about it at the podium yesterday, saying there was certainly a miscommunication and that was a call they never should have been in, and it will never happen again. And it's that last bit that I glom onto because, okay, I will give him some grace here. And he has now said it will never happen again. And it happened in a game that ultimately didn't matter. So I will acquiesce to his wish and say, okay, it's never going to happen again. That's fine. Now let's make sure it never happens again. That's where I'm at with it. Matthew, how are you, man? A lot of analysts predicting Packers to win. Where? Do tell. Shows the amount of respect for them and their upside considering they haven't played their best ball. Matthew, please direct me to these folks. I've seen maybe one national member saying the Packers have a chance. But most people are picking the Eagles that I've seen. Grant B, how are you, man? Just a shout out, Mike Holmgren, and what should be Hall of Fame induction this year. Thank you, Mike, for the most fantastic time in the 90s. Grant, you said it, man. They should absolutely be getting ready to give that man a jacket. No question about it. He deserves to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Braden, how are you, man? Can Half get Kalen King some more reps? I mean, he could. I don't suspect that's just going to happen in a playoff game. Maybe next year. But I suspect it would take a bit of bad injury luck for Kalen King to find the field with some regularity. Remember, throughout this season, they've brought up a number of guys, including King late in the season, from the practice squad. They certainly haven't given him run at any point as far as playing from scrimmage. So I suspect they think he's still a little raw and not ready for prime time, would be my guess. Well, this is a different chat, Craven. Nothing calms my anxiety like Jason Wilde's voice. Is this Jason Wilde's burner? I'm very confused by that chat, but hey, I appreciate the support. Patrick, how are you? Just me or Matt LaFleur not really using 6 offensive line formations? You know, that's funny you say that because it is something that he has utilized in the past. Maybe not with like complete regularity, but at times he's sprinkled it in. But yeah, haven't seen a ton of it this year. Now, maybe that's due to wanting to get, the tight ends more involved or Tucker Kraft in particular, but they've certainly done it once or twice this season, but yeah, it feels like there's been a downturn, which is what it is, man. I don't know if that's the key to turning on the offense, although I would love to see a tackle eligible touchdown. Let's get, say, like Rasheed Walker in the end zone. That's where I'm living right now. Jake, how you doing, man? Is it only a fool's hope to hope for a repeat of what happened in Dallas last year? Xavier, pick 6, please. Jake, it is not a fool's hope. It is a hope, and, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things. It's rare that history repeats itself so linearly, though. So I would suspect a good game, but I doubt it's like what we saw down in Dallas last season. I think this game will have its own story. Tanker, what's going on? Not to get ahead of ourselves, but who would you rather face for a third time in the playoffs, Lions or the Vikings? Oh, the Lions, 100% the Lions. And that's not a knock on the Lions, but it's simply because of how banged up they are on defense. And look, I know they've played better, and certainly they're getting some guys back. But, man, I don't want any part of the Vikings on defense. I think Flores is just killing it. And I love Aaron Glenn as well. But certainly, if of the two that I feel better about, the possibility of going into that building and moving the football, scoring points, hell, look no further than the last time the Packers were there. Definitely going to go with the Lions there. No question. Celestial. Watching Favre, his arm was OP. Okay. Colin, how are you, man? Whatever happened with that Jamin Davis signing? The Vikings signed him off the Packers practice squad like 2 months ago or something. And he actually played in a bunch of games for the Vikings prior to getting, I think he got released once they got one of their injured guys back. But yeah, no, he never took the the field for the Packers. He did take the field for the Vikings, though. Ed, thanks to the super chat. Just beat the freaking Eagles. I mean, this is an absolutely perfect place to leave it because, yes, that's what it comes down to. Just beat the freaking Eagles. What? Like it's hard? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All right, everybody. I'm going to have to get going. I cannot thank you enough for hanging out, talking Packers each and every day, Monday through Friday, right here on the Cheesehead TV social channels. Please do me a monster favor. Hit like on the video. Subscribe to the channel, which so many of you are doing. We are approaching 100,000 subs, which I cannot believe. When we first started kind of doing this seriously again, Corey and I obviously started in 2007 as a side fun project thing, like just a reason to keep keep in touch with each other, basically in New York. But the fact that we've grown from that to now it's my job, and when we kind of relaunched, I think we were sitting at 18,000 subscribers on YouTube. And Corey would joke, "Oh, someday we'll have 100," and I always thought that was kind of ridiculous. But now we're right on the precipice of it. So thank you, everybody. Really, really excited. I cannot wait to watch this game with you guys, especially because there are so many people, and there are these people in the chat. Oh, the Packers have no chance. These are the best moments. Is when even Packers fans, well, Packers fans in quotes, but even Packers fans are saying, "Oh, they have no chance." Okay, we'll see. Those are the best moments when they prove those folks wrong. And now maybe they do lose, and maybe the season's over, and we turn our attention to the roster and free agency and the draft. We'll be here for all of it at Cheesehead TV. But we'll also be here if and when the Packers win, and everyone's saying they had no chance are going to be saying, "Go Pack, go," all of a sudden. We see you. We know who you are. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Hit like, hit subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family. Cheesehead TV. We are devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great night. Go Pack, go.